Alright, good afternoon. Chigodi. Chigodi. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Buzz. My name is Rose Blossom, and of course, today we'll talk about the affairs and the state of the country. Of course, we talk about the elections, and we know that it's a tall and war, but somebody actually emerged the winner. And we'll be talking about that first. But before I start talking, I want to introduce my guest. I will start from Mr. Tochukwu Azuka Marada. Tochukwu Emmanuel. Okay, Mr. Tochukwu Azuka. He is a writer and social commentator. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so very much. Thank you for having me.
Are you shocked by Emmanuel? The Emmanuel behind the Tochukwu. You're shocked, right? When
I just knew you were mixing your roles. Not away by the tension in the studio.
There's no tension. I'm scared of Chief Godi because
we're scared of something.
Yes,
tension
because of this table. And yes, my right is Chief Godi. Professor. He is a journalist, a brand analyst, and a social commentator. Welcome to the show.
Blossom, is nice to be here. I wouldn't call you Blossom Emmanuel, but I would.
Yes, Rose Blossom. Yes,
it's nice to be here. Viewers, welcome.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for coming. Okay, I have Femi Chada Emmanuel. You're the reason why I'm missing up names, and Chief God is already putting Emmanuel. He's a public analyst, he's a politician, he's a writer, author, speaker. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, and I hope we don't share this table today.
Exactly. Now you know where my fears are coming from. Okay, let's talk about the Edo election. I'm just going to give a brief update on what happened during the weekend. After months of intense politicking in Edo State, the International National Electoral Commission, INEC, has declared Monday of All Progressive Congress as the winner of the keenly contested Saturday governorship election in South State. Of course, he secured 291,667 votes to defeat Igodaro of the People's Democratic Party, who came a distant third in the race with 22,768 votes. Of course, Monday was declared winner. And protesters actually came out, as the PDP protesters came out to opposited the result, saying it was fabricated. But there are protests in the state capital and outside the INEC election center, which was heavily guarded for the coalition exercise. And earlier in the day, during the election, Obaseki stormed the coalition center to protest the execution of PDP's agents from the venue, but was escorted out of the premises by armed security agents. First, I just want to ask, I'll ask you, Chief, because you're the one I met actually already been talking about it. What's the observation on this? How the person feel there was a lot of vote apathy during the the voting process of the election? But what's your say on that aspect, and how good do you think the INEC conducted this election?
Well, to be fair, I did quite monitor the elections. I felt some things else took my attention. I wouldn't want to say that yet. But like the Nigerian election, it's very sad to see that for a state that has about 2.2 million registered voters, only 24.96% of the people casted their votes. So you could see the vote apathy, and it's not even up to 30% of the registered voters that cast their vote on that day. And it goes to show that there are a lot of things that is wrong with the electoral system. Either people do not have confidence in INEC anymore, they have to change their name to something else, or reject the headship of INEC. And again, the tension that the election brought before the election itself, and people talking about do or die, people showing concern about security in the state, and again, also electorate also believing that at the end of the day their vote may not count. So it's not as if people don't want to choose their own leader. But we have seen in this country over time that most times when you go cast your vote, stay in some cast your vote, you find that at the end of the day, your vote do not count. A particular area that's in those days in this recent election where but over 200 were accredited. And ended up people voting were over 400. So how do you bring out such votes that only 200, over 200 were accredited to vote, then 400 turn out to vote? Does it make sense? It's a simple mathematics. So at the end of the day, maybe we may even see further apathy in Ondo state elections, because we are saying that people do not have confidence in the electoral process, people do not have confidence in government. A lot of things that people were promising, the politicians were promising when they get into office, they are not doing it. So they just say to themselves, okay, what should I go instead of, go about my legitimate activities? Why should I? And if you also look at it, you lock down the entire state for a whole day, only to get only 24.96%
of the people
registered voters vote. So it's a shame. If you ask me, I will rate this election very low. And the only upside of this election is the first election in Nigeria that we are not counting the vote and counting the people that died. So that's the only thing that I could say is the upside of this election. Every other thing is regrettable.
Okay, Femi, I want you to react to the part where Obaseki was actually escorted out by the security forces, and right after that we had protesters protesting, of course, due to the result that was, the pollution when they were hearing the result.
Let me say that I agree with my brother Chief, because maybe the first time or probably only this issue, because I know that we're going to discuss a lot and we're going to disagree as usual. I agree with all of what you have said. I am also of the opinion that several people in Nigeria get a voter's card for the sake of identification, not the sake of participating in elections. There are some people that they just want a means of ID. And then there were some that they do not work in Edo State, they work outside Edo State, and the cost of transportation due to the hike in the cost of fuel didn't make many of them. You calculate it and you remove this from your salary for the sake of voting someone that not even do what they promised and the campaigns. So some people begin to, how do you make money? Is it a scale of preference? I think looking at a scale of preference, I would rather forfeit that. Now coming to, so I'm saying all of that because I agreed that there were a lot of factors that made the voter party really visible. But Obaseki's issue, I've come to realize that you see, sadly, especially in Nigeria, good politicians win elections, good candidates don't win elections. There's a difference between a good candidate and a good politician. And that's why most times, for the sake of trying to stamp their authority and influence on the candidates, they most times split. Have you seen times where the good candidate is actually really good, but it's the person that they want to be the deputy that is the person that's actually sound upstairs? I don't want to give innocent examples so that some people will not actually attack me after this show, because I'll be pointing basically to some particular parties and we share affiliations a lot. Now, back to the issue. I've come to realize that, like I said earlier, good candidates don't win elections. Good politicians do. And quite a lot of, I followed the Edo State elections so well. Obaseki didn't swear in 10 House of Assembly members for years. I'm sure my brother is aware. For years, these guys have constituencies. Their constituency members were disenfranchised because certain people had a feud with the sitting governor. Close to elections, because your deputy governor had an intention and aspiration in your party, then you found means to get him impeached. This guy has the grassroots support. There are certain things that you can do. Timing is everything. In fact, like one of the politicians I look up to always say that, Femi, there's a difference between when it's your time and it's your turn. It can be your turn and it's not your time. It can be your time, but it's not your turn. So most times in politics, you have to make sure that it's not just your time,
but also
your turn. And quite a lot of factors come in. Now, so look at, I can give instances. Due to the artifacts that were returned by the British, you also had a misunderstanding with the tradition with Yoruba. These are, you can't offend everybody. You can't have issues with everybody and still want to bring in your candidate. It's not done. See, politics is a game of addition. The more the numbers of stakeholders, the merrier. So you were subtracting. If you subtract the House of Assembly members that are disenfranchised, you're subtracting. Your deputy governor, you're subtracting. For the first time, the APC won the Obas region. It has never happened. It has always been a PDP stronghold. But for the first time, and yet you didn't even read the situation. Sadly, 4 days to the election, big weeks in the PDP came with His Excellency, the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and they went to Igbeneghu.
Yeah.
Instead of the other. These are, people can read between the lines. I'm shocked. And I would like to say that what played out on Saturday was a fight of godfathers. It has nothing to do with the candidates, honestly. Because if the two candidates stood on their own, then the PDP candidates would probably have won. I say that with no sense of remorse. Because we all knew who the better candidate in the election was. But you know, it was a fight of, a godfather against God. When Shehu now pitches his tent with Oshomole again against Joseph Obaseki, then we would not. So I'm sad that politics in 2024 still has to be explained in such context. But these are facts that you cannot disapprove of. Why? From the little I've learned in politics, I've aspired several times, both primary forms, and then you will later find out that you have to go and line up. So some of us didn't understand how it's played out. So I've learned that 5 things are very, very important. Human psychology. That's where certain people play religion, they play region, they play tribe, like all of what I've just analyzed are human psychological factors. The second is the synergy, which you need more stakeholders. They always say one man, one vote. But I bet you the Oba of Benin does not have one vote. He does not need to shout. He does not need to say, this is who. He does not have one because I respect the Edos because they don't joke with that. This is you, a sitting governor. You are already sending the wrong signals to people. People don't see. You read where you are popular. You don't read where you are not popular. So once they understand that there is human factor, it's easier for APC to win in those areas because they already know that certain people already have that kind of notion, and it's easier to pass off. I've talked about the human psychology. I've talked about the synergy. Then the third part is the energy, where you now need some of those. That's where the pay talks. That's where they get. You must have
all of these things in politics.
In politics, that's where you must have people that have the energy because you don't. It's everything that you have to do. The fourth part is actually technology, and you will find out that I've come to realize that the more when it was Southwest election, some people did that too. They can get your phone numbers. They can use names and phone numbers to calculate how many people from social local governments from social area will be voting for certain. See, let me tell you the new style of rigging. People say vote buying. They tell people not to come out and vote. Now, that's the funniest thing that is happening now. What we call once they understand that it is your stronghold, then the next thing some of these politicians do is that without infiltrate and get enough money backs to start discouraging people either through means of violence, which was always done before, but they don't do that anymore. Because they know people are hungry. You will collect some people. An hungry man will collect 10,000 to sit at home. And not come to vote because they want to make sure that they weaken the opposition vote. And that's why you find that there was a lot of closeness in the stronghold of the opposition, and there was so much margin in the stronghold of the APC.
Okay.
So I'll stop there.
All right, thank you very much, Femi. Femi actually made a very good analysis of because he's a politician, so you made a very good analysis of what politics entails. But over to you, Tochukwu. What's your?
Well, yes, the vote apathy, as everybody's talking about, is not surprising. I think that after the 2023 election, people started losing interest in the process. Before the 2023 election, there was a very impressive, stylish, exquisitely written guidelines for the election. But INEC dispensed with it. INEC breached everything about it. It's not our president that won that election. So the people, the man the people voted for is not there. So people over the years, gradually, people's interest or willingness to get involved in politics was growing slowly but steadily. I think it culminated in the 2023 election. But after that, people started going back to the feeling that it doesn't really matter. It's all fraudulent. Your vote will not reflect. So that's one thing. But I'm impressed in one respect that there was no violence in this election. Because considering the intensity, the vehemence of the opposing parties, Obaseki talked about life and death. It's a life and do or die affair. Oshomole was taking swipe at a childless woman, which in my culture is abominable. It's something you don't do. And if this society is sane, that should have just turn people against APC. It's not something an elderly man. If he's a teenager, we understand it. You say, okay, youthful indiscretion. But for him to talk about Mrs. Obaseki the way he did was a big turn off. But so people thought there would be violence. But luckily or fortunately, there was no violence, which is good. One thing that surprised me is the very poor performance of the Labour Party, which goes to tell us that the Labour Party really, Obi personifies the Labour Party. The Labour Party before Obi came in was a very weak party and remains so, except when Obi comes out. Yeah. So that's the thing. The leader, or the winner of the election, is very disappointing because you don't have to be very knowledgeable to be a leader, but you need some basic knowledge. And sometimes you don't learn leadership in school. It comes naturally. But then, even if you have the natural qualities to be a leader, you need basic education. People say, hey, because he doesn't speak English. But English is the intellectual language of Nigeria. You cannot be knowledgeable and not speak English. So that you don't speak English is a powerful indication that you are ignorant. So that man is ignorant. So when he came in public talking about, I'll give you insecurity. What you want is insecurity. Even a mechanic by the roadside knows better than that. A organizer by the roadside, a drunk that's not been to school, that stumbles from one bar to the other, knows the difference between security and insecurity. He didn't say it once. He would have said it's a slip of tongue. He repeated it about 3-4 times. Yes, I'll give you insecurity. So for such a man to be a governor, I don't see him doing much because you have to be knowledgeable enough to understand what is involved. Leadership requires vision. Leadership requires courage. It requires guts. And all these things are underpinned by knowledge. Not professorial PhD knowledge, but basic knowledge. Yes. And this man lacks it. So that APC is foisting such a man on the people of Edo leaves a lot to be desired. Nigerians are great minds within Nigeria and out of Nigeria. But while we keep voting for ignoramuses to lead us is what we still don't understand. So, but he's won the election. I think the election has been declared. For the most part, I think it was free and fair. I mean, every party played its own game. Call it vote buying, call it your sophisticated vote suppression. You see, whatever it is, every party played its own, and it evened out. He is the winner in a fair and free election.
Okay, yes, thank you for that one. Actually, after the winner was declared winner. PDP actually called for a review of the Edo gubernatorial election. Let's quickly watch just a snippet of the video where he was actually making a call for a review of the gubernatorial election. I'll be right back to the studio. Okay, welcome back. Yes, that's PDP are calling for a review of the Edo gubernatorial election. Chief Godi, why do you think there should be a review of this election again?
Of course, we have all said here that the election, something went wrong with elections, one way or the other. And don't also forget why Edo State became an off-season, that now have an off-season election. It was as a result of Oshun being declared by the court as the winner against Osumbo. So I feel that the PDP, we have now the most popular phrase, go to court. We may not, as a matter of fact, have faith in the judiciary, but I think the PDP should test the law at the court of law. And we are in this country where an election was conducted in Nigeria, and somebody came forth, actually was declared the winner in Imo State. So maybe as at that time, people will tell him, what are you going to court for? You actually came, if the court want to look at the intricacies and the valid nature of the elections, you may not even come up. So he came forth, he became first in the election. So I would encourage PDP to test the law. Some of the things His Excellency Finteri, the Adamawa State Governor, said about, they should test it, that it will actually strengthen our electoral laws if we look at it and at the end of the fine-tune it. Because I feel Femi was trying to eulogize and glorify some of the irregularities that go on in the election, like rigging talks. We shouldn't play those things up. Those things are the factors that suppress our electoral processes. Good trading, people going to buy, give people money to stay at the modernized way of rigging, telling people not to come out and vote. We should all condemn it. I think it's condemnable. At this point, we should be able to allow people choose their leader. And I think that's the difference between us and other countries. All right? The election is coming up in the US, and now people, the United States of American citizens are planning to vote from in Lagos here and across the world. They have not started in the US. They are collecting votes. People are voting and sending in their votes. Why can't we do things like that? Why can't we move ahead to do things like that? Why are we still talking about vote buying, vote suppression, talks, and the rest of it in the 21st century? And we are calling ourselves the giant of Africa. Why are we doing that? Things like that. How can you say you have election here, what somebody you accredited 20 and 40 came out to vote? How do we still do things? Even if he had gone to the PDP, it's still a very condemnable act. So I feel on this table, our job is very simple, to look at and become a moral compass of the society. So how do we do that? Would I now tomorrow, when there is an election somewhere in my state, I will now maybe go pay 250,000 to fly here to go and vote? Something should encourage me to do that. Something should encourage me to do that. So at the end of the day, when we begin to talk about fact, he insulted Oba, I didn't see any insult anyway. It was an active fact. An active fact brought in, has got to through the governor, take it to the Oba. Oba is not the government. In fact, as a matter of fact, we have seen what has happened in the northern part of the country. We used to think Emir were untouchable. We used to think the Sultan is untouchable. And I think the Sokoto governor is actually planning a law to weaken that. So we have seen a lot of things are happening. So at the end of the day, I'm not saying somebody should insult a traditional institution. However, they are constitutional authority, and those things should be followed through. At the end of the day, we can sit here and sermonize and talk all we want, but I think the Edo people will be better for it. At the end of the day, if this guy comes in, perform well, they will enjoy. If he doesn't, we'll go back to square one. Today in Nigeria, we are all crying. Even the leadership and the federal government have acknowledged the hardship. So that means we are not crying blue water.
Yeah. Okay.
The thing
very
is
quickly.
Very, very quickly. The thing is that you talked about testing
The law.
the law. Okay, one thing is to accept what is real. Thus far, there's not been any major evidence of irregularities in that election. But what you have to realize is that politicians will be politicians. They have to politic, they have to test the law. That Uzodimma became the governor of Imo State was a monumental aberration. And it's one of the worst things that ever happened to Nigerian politics, and one of the worst things that ever happened to the Nigerian judiciary. The Nigerian judiciary is steadily losing its credibility, making conflict rulings. You wonder if they have different laws to interpret. So Uzodimma's case is something regrettable that shouldn't be repeated anywhere in Nigeria. It happened. Yeah. Just like kidnapping is happening. Just like kidnapping is happening, and kidnapping is terrible and is deplorable. Okay. Vote buying is a terrible thing, but vote will continue to be sold and bought. A certain right, I've quoted him time and time again, say that to mix the politics of democracy with the economics of poverty is a dangerous experiment. In a country where the majority of people are poor and the power elite are deliberately making people poorer and poorer, so they can readily manipulate them, people will buy votes. You can talk all the logic, all the philosophy on democracy, on the power of the vote. But for a hungry man, it is most irrelevant. That chicken he will buy for his wife, cook for his wife, and rice for his children is more important to him than all your grammar and theory on democracy. So until societies evolve, the American society has evolved to a place where they play their politics in a given way. Nigeria is at a point where we still play our politics in our own way. It's the Nigerian rendition of democracy. There's no absolute democracy anywhere in the world. So we're doing it in our own way. And based on our standards, based on our styles, the Edo election is fair and free. And these guys better stop testing the law. They are making everything hard for everybody.
Let's move on. Definitely, congratulations to what you want to talk. Well, okay, all right. I'll just 1 minute. You know, Femi, you like to analyze. Okay, just 1 minute.
He's a lecturer. That's
yes, I know he is.
That's right. You see, we need to have an understanding. I'm a politician, and I accept. And it's my duty to understand what goes on. I don't want to just, in my like some other candidates will do, purchase form and then spend so much money and think that I'm going to be declared winner or that I'm going to win, without understanding how things really work and what I can do about it, probably to avoid or stop something. So that I acknowledge and talk about it does not mean that I'm in support of that. That's number one. Number two, the Uzodimma's case. I know probably another day we'll chip it in as well, and we'll really discuss because I'm interested, and there has been quite a lot of hearsays that does not really justify what really happened. Fine, it was fought, but how did it become fought? 388 polling units were exhumed from his votes, and he went to court to contest that if those things were added, if those votes from those polling units, 388 polling units were added to his, that he should be declared winner. Sadly, the person that placed second was AAC. This guy's Okocha's son-in-law was already discovered because as at the time he participated in that election, he was still a member of the APC. So that removed him. The third person did not even join in the suit. So obviously it's the first against the fourth person. I didn't want us to have another time to discuss it because I really analyze that. We don't need to just we don't need to call a dog a bad name because we want to hang it. I disagree with my brothers on that. Lastly, you see, irrespective of how we are angry about Nigeria's INEC, it is at the moment better than what Morisi was doing. It has not gotten to where I have been voting for a long time. And I know some of my elder brothers have also been good. During Obasanjo's time, People are waiting at the polling booths, and some other people are ready to printing. But right now, if you are not captured, you don't even complete if you are not captured. Is that the best we can achieve? No. But have we made progress? Yes. Can things be better? Yes. But do I also think that the present politicians, especially this present administration, will want to make it better? Maybe no. But that does not mean we have not experienced appreciable progress. We all understand what happened when Trump lost the election. The capital was almost turned upside down. So there's
not a typical American.
It does not excuse the fact that it's happened. That's the point. It does not excuse the fact that it happened. So we cannot keep saying that
the institution made it impossible to turn the system around. In Nigeria, the will of one man supersedes the whole institution. One man can impose his will on the whole country. But the institutions in America made it impossible for Trump. And now he's in trouble. He's not going anywhere. And he has many cases against him. So then give that Trump example. In Nigeria, politicians have done worse than Trump.
Maybe you bring us back to talk about this. I'm really interested. Probably close to U.S. elections.
All of these.
How can you use all of this standard for a country?
How did the Supreme Court realize that all the votes he won in those places? Because he also need to know the 300 something polling units.
It was all pre-arranged. Let's not waste our time.
Okay, Chief Godi, Femi, so Chuku, please can we
agree on when to discuss?
We will discuss this.
I'm very interested.
We will discuss this.
Yeah, but you brought it up. So that's why I'm giving you the reason why.
Move on.
Okay, I think that's enough. Thank you. Femi, that's okay. All right, I want to go back to the next one. Femi, that's okay, please. Thank you very much. I know, I said this table will break. You have broken it already. In fact, it's scattered. But let's just go to the next one. I'm not going to say anything again about the protest. I'll just move to, let's talk about Tinubu'S minister under fire for alleged link with bandits. So I'm just going to read a short synopsis on that so that we can get to understand exactly what the story is about. Okay, the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawalle, is under fire after being linked with terrorism in the country. Bello is alleged to have procured vehicles for bandit leaders, including a notorious kingpin, Bello Turji, and others, while serving as Zamfara State Governor. The current state governor, which is Dauda Lawal, a national television on Wednesday, urged the minister to resign. He said, and I quote, "If I were him, that is Bello, I would resign and face all allegations against me because from all the information we have been getting, my predecessor was fully involved in some of this banditry." Okay, according to Lawal, the former governor kept terrorists at the government house and ransom was paid to terrorists through the government. It is not the first time Bello will face accusation of sponsoring banditry. Remember, in January 2020, as serving as state governor under the All Progressive Congress, the opposition party, PDP, also called for Matawale's resignation over alleged banditry sponsorship. And the APC has countered the allegation, insisting it was because he deflected from the PDP to the party at that time. And of course, another Islamic cleric, Bello Asada, also accused him of sponsoring bandits. And a lot of allegations coming up. It's still alleged, it's not yet confirmed.
It's very convenient for Mr. Zugama to sit here and call another person in his country a criminal. And all those things attributing those things to the person. You see, this is the country.
Was he not convicted of a crime or a bunch of crimes?
I don't know.
A criminal.
He's still in the race.
Yeah,
and he may win.
And he may likely win.
Please, are we still talking about Bello, or we are talking about Chief God?
Let me come to this Matawale's wahala. You see, this is the only country where you, just like a banana republic, where you raise in a community, you raise a thief, you catch thieves, which is very, very illegal to do that. Because if you have committed a crime, you must face the consequences of those actions that you have carried out. Now, this Matawale, after he lost the election, some cars, they said, were moved, about 400 cars were moved to underground. They found out at the end of the day, when was retrieved, when the president wanted to announce his minister, he became the Minister of State Defense. Now, it's not just the government people that are saying it. We know how religious we are up north. When the imam, the religious leader says something, they don't just dance around. They mean it. This is the man. Mr. President, why can't you ask him to resign? He doesn't have any immunity. These allegations are weighty.
They are very weighty.
And you need to go and clear your name. The man is still walking around with security, with bandits. It is, it is criminal for you to even put a criminal in the government house and ask your people who have been kidnapped to pay ransom to them. And when your job is to give them protection. So I still don't understand till this morning why Matawale is still answering the Minister of Defense states. So if at the end of the day, because that's what has been happening, if it happens to my sister, it should happen to this man.
Fact. That's what I wanted to even say.
If it happened to my sister, it should happen to this man. It should happen to every other person that has been indicted. If Mr. President wants to fight security and want to fight corruption, we have seen what is playing out in Kogi State, where a governor is walking around with an indicted person and is sitting in his office. This man was talking about Obasanjo. If it was Obasanjo's government, they would have impeached him, obstructing justice and cause of actions. So why is Matthew a minister up to today?
Not only a minister, defense.
One of the most important
ministry in this country, and we are bedeviled with insecurity. Like somebody said, it will bring insecurity.
We have enough of it already. We don't want more.
You see, sadly, I think, and with all sense of humility, I think if the president, like my brother said, means well as far as the security is concerned, I see what the media are doing. I've seen a lot of these kingpins being taken. But I'm still of the opinion that if Matawale steps aside, enough more can be achieved. Then there's this other clear thing that needs to be picked up. Gumi. I don't know why he hasn't been. Those are two. I've said it among so many committee of. If Gumi is not picked up and Matawale does not step aside, I do not count any of the achievements the military has done so far as anything meaningful. I just feel these are just, when you play chess, these are just pawns. All those guys, to just protect the queen or the king and make people feel like they are doing certain efforts. That's what if Matawale does not step aside and Gumi isn't arrested, then nothing has been achieved as far as it is concerned.
The thing is that the origin of the bandits, the first time I read about the bandits, my response, I replied to that article. I don't remember where I read it. As you are a fiction writer, it seemed too fictional that they were brought in to ensure the electoral victory of somebody. And I believe it. I said, you are a fiction writer. So the question is, where do these bandits come from? And why do they have this sense of authority, impunity?
You see that the man is a fiction writer.
No. So the way they, with this sense of what's the word? They feel like though they are in charge. Entitlement. That's the word I'm looking for. So they must have some very powerful backers, So that Matawale is being accused of one of their backers is not surprising. But in Nigeria, that's what we get. You call it thieves fighting thieves. The problem, one of the reasons we cannot move forward is that the man who is supposed to fight the thief is a thief himself. Not only that he is a thief, but they have business interests. Their paths have crossed repeatedly. They are inextricably bind to one another. So you know he's a thief with nothing you can do about it. Your wives belong to the same associations, wear the same ashwebis, your children intermarry. So there's an evil oligarchy that has a grip on Nigeria. And until we break that hold, that grip, the system will just remain, go forward, come backward, nothing will happen. And to break that grip will require something of a Rawlings in Ghana, like Rawlings did in Ghana, in Nigeria.
Okay, but we can't say much again because our time is very fast spent. But let's just quickly talk just a little bit about the fuel. I know that one is very important because IP Man has said that the fuel has not gotten to them, and of course they are planning to actually make sure that that fuel price is being reduced, maybe from the 900, they stipulated earlier on, to as low as I think maybe 800 or thereabouts,
or 700. Some say you can sell fuel for 300 in Nigeria.
But they've not even started collecting.
You still make your profit and sell at 300.
I just want to ask, is there any reason you think that Dangote has, or NNPC has not started giving out to these independent marketers yet?
Please, can we be fully?
Why? You're tired.
Listen, biting everybody.
Listen, I hate things like this. You know, myself and Femi, we almost fought on this table. May last year, when the man took up and said, Femi was saying he was going to come down. And I say it was never going to come down. Today, he hasn't bought me my beer. Listen, leave it like this. Let us just continue to buy. See, why I didn't feel the impact is that even when the fuel was still sold at 565 at NNPC, I was buying it at 900. And because I didn't the goats to go and queue and stay in the for overnight, I was quickly buying my own at 920. So when I get to 1,000, I didn't feel it much. So instead of you to bring it down and now jack it up to 2,000, leave it there. I don't want anybody to touch fuel again. What is it?
Okay,
you're tired.
You know what? Let me go with Chief Goddy's advice. Let's leave it there because if we start talking, like he said, when they bring it out to 300, we
now take it to 2,000. Now start shouting.
Okay, well, since we can't talk about the fuel and all of that, we'll wrap it up here. We don't have to say anything because I don't even want that fight to happen because what was about to happen right now. Okay, thank you very much, Tochukwu Ezekama, for coming.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Amazing show today. Thank you, Chief Goddy of Ose. Amazing. It was not you that was about to fight. It was Chief Goddy, Tochukwu and Emmanuel that were just disagreeing on Trump.
I don't have the strength again to fight. So
you are all my big brothers. We can actually agree, but we must still
agree. Yeah, of course, yes. Thank you so much, Femi Chacha,
thanks
for coming.
Me. And it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Loving minds, bright minds.
Yes, amazing one. Thank you so much. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And of course, those behind the camera, I'm very sure I can see all them all smiles and nodding and agreeing to most of the things that were happening. But some were actually scared. This table does not go. Anyways, that's it for today. Tomorrow we'll continue talking about politics and of course the affairs of the country. My name is Rose Blossom. Have a beautiful day for yourself. Bye for now.